Hi everyone, and welcome to AWS Julie. For today's video, we're continuing with our new series on needed AWS fundamentals to ensure you pass your AWS certifications. Please remember to give me a like, subscribe, and remember to reach out with any questions or feedback. Let's dive into elasticity and scaling. In the last lesson, we dove deeper into the AWS Well-Architected Framework, and we talked about the reliability pillar. So what pillar covers elasticity and scaling? It is the performance efficiency pillar. Let's start with what is scaling. Scaling is the ability of a system to scale, so increasing or decreasing the load placed upon that system. And systems scale when they need to grow or shrink depending on the load. So when it scales, we are adding or removing resources to and from a system. And there are two ways to scale: vertical and horizontal. An example of vertical scaling is if you have a particular size of an EC2 instance and that instance size is not able to keep up with the increase in demand. So the instance may start running very slowly, or in a worst case scenario, it may cause the system to crash. So vertical scaling is resizing your EC2 instance to a larger size. If we were using a T2 micro, we may need to resize to a T2 medium or larger. And by resizing our instance, we are actually adding more CPU and memory for our system to handle the increase in demand. And if you choose to scale vertically, you will encounter a few issues. There is usually a small disruption because the instance, when resized, will need to be rebooted. And to tie in cost optimization, when you vertically scale to a larger or even larger instance size, you will also see an increase in your cost. And this is one area where we can go back to our AWS Well-Architected Framework cost optimization pillar to make sure we are right-sizing our instances in the beginning. But some benefits of vertical scaling is that there are usually no application modifications needed, and it usually works for all applications. Now let's talk about horizontal scaling, because it was designed to fix some of the issues that we have with vertical scaling. So with horizontal scaling, instead of increasing the size of our instance, we add more instances of the same size to handle that load. And instead of having one running copy of your application, you now have one for each instance that's scaled, and we can use a load balancer to help distribute the load across all of our instances. But we also have to consider certain things with horizontal scaling, and one is sessions. So you do not want to interrupt customer sessions with your applications. When we have a single application running on a single server, then all of our sessions are stored on that server. But what do you think happens to our sessions when we scale to multiple servers with copies of our application? Well, sometimes you're shifted between the instances because horizontal scaling is meant to even out the load. So the load balancer sends requests to different servers that have a copy of your application. So AWS recommends enabling sticky sessions so you do not lose your sessions switching between servers, and this works when scaling in or out. And as far as cost optimization, this is usually less expensive because you are using smaller, cheaper instance sizes. Now let's cover elasticity. What is it? It is an important topic to know and understand for the exam. Elasticity is using automation along with horizontal scaling to match capacity or your supply with the demand. You will notice that demand is very rarely linear. It's usually increasing and decreasing, and using elasticity, it allows our capacity to increase and decrease and meet that ever-changing demand. And AWS provides launch configurations and auto-scaling to scale out our systems to match that capacity to that demand, allowing our environment to scale out, adding additional resources as the demand increases. And then when that demand decreases, we can scale back in to a smaller number of servers or even no servers, which optimizes our environment for performance efficiency, operational excellence, as well as cost optimization, which are all pillars of the AWS Well-Architected Framework. Here are some exam tips. Vertical scaling is a larger size. Horizontal scaling is adding more instances of the same size, and elasticity is using automation along with horizontal scaling to match our capacity to our demand. In our next lesson, we will continue learning about fundamentals and learn about public, private, multi, and hybrid environments. Thanks so much for watching.